Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into the Spread, NESN.com's Football Picks podcast. I am NESN.com's Mike Cole, joined, as always, by NESN.com's Ricky Doyle and NESN.com's Andre Kachaturian. This is the part in our program where you two introduce yourself.
Identify your voice.
Yes.
Ricky,
identify your voice.
This is you, Ricky.
Yes,
talking.
Dude, that's no good saying this is you, Ricky.
No,
that is confusing. Ricky, talk.
Hey, it's me.
Okay, this is Andre talking.
Jesus
now
Christ.
we all know our
It
voices.
should not be that difficult, but it is.
You got three voices. We don't have to identify ourselves.
I know.
Because we all sound the exact same.
Yeah,
too,
right. Yeah. And then who cares either? Nobody's logging on to be like, "What's Ricky saying?"
Three different accents.
It's like, just give me stats, nerd.
You do have three different accents. It helps.
Yeah. So we're in week 4. Week 4 of the NFL season. As always, we'll go through the 3 best games of the week, which is a very relative term this week. We'll get into some locks and upsets, and then we'll get the hell out of here and get on with our lives. Before we do that, however, before we get into week 4, we've got to look back to see if we learned any lessons. We'll start with our records. Andre, how'd it go?
Very arrogant last week when I said, I'm first place.
Yep.
I am first place. I finished 5-11 this week. And
Guess
what?
You tried to slip it in there in a casual conversation.
Yeah, it was terrible. Yeah, it bit me in
tweeting about it.
I did tweet about
Yeah,
it. I rarely tweet, but I tweeted
We
about
had
it.
another picks thing in the office, and you're like, man, you're doing so well on that, but you suck in the spread.
Yeah.
Man.
And anyway, I finished 5-11. I learned my lesson to not be so arrogant after 3 weeks. And Ricky and Mike, you guys went 7-9. Very good, considering it was a very strange week with the Vikings getting blown out by the Bills. You got that right, actually. You got the Bills, Mike. Plus 17.
I had some about lives right there.
I know.
7-9.
I know,
Constantly
right?
just on the cusp. Can't quite get over the hump.
Well, so where are we at on the
So
season?
right now, the season, we're all 23-1. We're all first, second, and last.
Like incredibly 500. Just
Everyone, what is this?
Perfect.
It's a wash.
We have
New
wasted.
season.
We have wasted the entire hour and a half or whatever it's been doing all of this
Research and picks.
Yeah, and all of it to come out.
I mean, we had mentioned
50-50.
that before the season. Like you guys blew me out of the water last year, but it's pretty tight throughout most of the season usually. And for the amount of picks that we have in our picks column that vary throughout the course of the season, for us to for water to find its level, I guess.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
guys, there's a website called NFLPickWatch.com. It's like all the experts.
You love it. Are you on it yet? You were hoping that
You probably emailing them. You're
yeah,
trying to get,
he's
the
like,
blue,
hey, I'm
the blue check mark.
Bill
I'm
Cowher.
8 games over 500 going in.
Bill Cowher is at 65%.
Yeah, but that's probably straight up, right?
Check the tape.
No.
No way.
Actually,
That's probably straight up like Bill Cowher on the CBS show that nobody watches. Like, who cares about Bill
don't know.
Cowher? Bill Cowher's not doing half the research that we are. And so I guess,
Bill Cowher's
which I
rolling
guess
out
is
of
really
bed
a
and
point
picking
to say
games.
don't listen to us.
He's using like the old World Cup octopus to pick games.
Actually, I don't know if this is against the spread or just.
I doubt it's against the spread. I think that's all from
Was
pregame
that
shows and
65%?
stuff.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, there's no way.
Bill Cowher's not the shark over there.
Yeah, this is.
65%.
Bill Cowher should have been
I don't know about
spending his career in Vegas. Who cares?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Brent Musburger, maybe.
Oh, here it is. Expert against the spread picks.
Call him BS on that.
And I don't know where.
You look perplexed. Let's move on.
Yeah.
No data available. it
Thank
says.
God we ditched the video portion.
Yeah.
We just see you agonizing over your laptop.
Anyway, I hope we're all like Bill Cowher.
Yeah, and let's get into week 4 before we do one last check of week 3. Favorites last week were 9-7 straight up. That kind of speaks to your point, Andre. 9-7 straight up is not a great number for favorites. 7-9 against the spread, not surprising there. Over-unders last week went 8-8 for the 3rd straight week. So we are 24-24 against the spread with over-unders. Underdogs are 27-18-1 against the spread for the season with 2 picks for the season. So underdogs have been profitable. Let's see, is there anything else? Home teams were 10-6 against the spread last week, 26-21 and 1 against the spread for the season. Home dogs last week, 3-0 against the spread. 9-4 against the spread for the season. That's from our pal Johnny Oddshark, John Campbell over at Oddshark. As always, we get our lines and just about all of our information from them. So big credit, big thanks to them, and they will help us again as we get into week 4. Should we do that now?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's
Okay.
do it. I'm ready.
All right. We'll start Sunday afternoon. Two of the biggest surprises in the NFL through 3 weeks. The Miami Dolphins head on the road. They're coming up north to take on New England Patriots at Gillette Stadium, where the Miami Dolphins come in as the first place Miami Dolphins. 3-0 after another, I don't know if it's an impressive win. They came from behind to beat Oakland, whereas they get the Patriots, the 1-2 Patriots, looking up against Patriots looking up at luminaries such as the Cleveland Browns right now, the Cincinnati Bengals, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not. I don't know about that. But it's not good for the Patriots right now through 3 weeks. Did we all whiff on that last week, or did anybody else?
The Patriots?
Yeah.
We all whiffed.
We all whiffed.
We were all very high
We
on
all
the
whiffed on the
Patriots.
Chargers too.
Yeah,
+6.5.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, we whiffed on.
Bet against my lock of the week.
Yeah, no kidding.
Just to get that out of the way now. We'll figure that out later on in the show. But bet against it.
Patriots now, I put this in quotes, down to -300 favorites to win the AFC East. What were they at the beginning of the season? You guys remember? Was it -700, if I'm not mistaken?
Minus
Or
800,
even,
something like that.
yeah, higher than that. Dolphins, for what it's worth, are +275. Dolphins win this game. There's 3 games up in the
They clinched
AFC
the
East.
AFC East.
No, but it's much closer than anybody probably would admit. I went back and looked at the look-ahead lines that came out in May when the schedule came out. The Patriots were 11-point favorites when the lines, or when the schedule first came out. Looking ahead, that's why they're called look-ahead lines. Duh. Now it's down to 7. This opened, I think, at like 9.5 even earlier in the week. It's been bet down to 7. A lot of line movement. 7 might seem a little low for the Patriots at home, despite their issues. Ricky, where are you at in this one?
Yes. Well, first and foremost, that you mentioned the Raiders game, the Dolphins beating the Raiders last week.
Yep.
How predictable is that? Them falling apart in the second half. You pick people if they want to do some live betting throughout the game. Definitely pick against the Raiders.
That's a good idea. I would.
Mike actually did that.
I might. Yeah.
There
You
you go.
might have done that today.
Yeah.
Or Sunday.
Not today. That'd be a win.
Well, there you go.
I'll place a bet for Sunday.
Tuesday night football.
Yeah.
Now, why we were so high on the Patriots last week, all of us, it was mostly stems from the fact that they had looked so poor the week before, and they just have such a track record of bouncing back from losses. The thought of them losing 3 in a row is it just kind of blows my mind. But I do think the Dolphins keep it within the number here. I mean, even though it is dropping, I like getting the points. I like Adam Gase, what he's doing offensively. They got a couple speedy wide receivers, Albert Wilson, Jakeem Grant. You just look at the Patriots defense. It looks incredibly slow right now, and they just cannot tackle for the life of them. You couple that with the problems that they have on offense right now, and I just think that the Dolphins, they might not win this game outright because it is in New England, and we've seen in the past that traditionally the Dolphins have struggled there. I think they've lost their last 11 games in New England with Tom Brady as the quarterback. They had 1 win, but that was the season in which he was hurt.
That was the Ronnie Brown game.
I think the Dolphins ultimately do something to probably maybe cough this game up, but I think they'll keep it close and keep it within the 7 points. So
I'm gonna cut it in front of you here because I'm on the same number. I'm on it with Ricky for pretty much the same exact reasons. I think I went back and, not to be a hardo, looked at some film. Basically,
because they gave you the information.
Yeah, exactly.
Info.
I got the login info. That was actually for another game that I was watching. I wanted to go back and see Mahomes' magic.
In your lair.
I was gonna say he's in the dark lair.
I was in the basement, doing my research.
Old man cave.
No, I just haven't seen a lot of Mahomes. I wanted to go back and look at it. We'll get into that a little bit more later. But no, I didn't actually go look at the film. I just really wanted to see the highlights of those touchdowns, just to see what Miami was doing.
It's creative.
And it's very creative. A lot of lateral movement, a lot of misdirection, and as you mentioned, a ton of speed. Jakeem Grant, one of the fastest players on the planet. He ran a 4.34 40 at one point in his life. That's insanity. Albert Wilson, I think he ran like
Good
a
arm.
4.7 40.
Albert Wilson's going through.
Yeah.
Good
And
arm.
so he scored. He also scored a touchdown. It was the 3rd fastest documented foot speed according to this season, according to Next Gen. No, like that NFL is like their dumb Next Gen stats. He ran like 21 miles per hour. It was the 3rd fastest in the league this year. The 2 fastest were Tyreek Hill, so that gives you an idea how fast he is. The Patriots, it's hard. You don't want to overreact. I don't think I'm overreacting. I just think this might be a bad matchup for them because, again, we've seen it through two weeks in a row at least. They look slow defensively, and so maybe you get Josh Gordon back into the mix offensively. But I don't is Dante Hightower going to be out there, chasing around, NASCAR in grass, as Jakeem Grant called it? Like, I don't know, man. So I think this could end up being a shootout. Maybe look at the total as well. We're at 47.5 right now. Maybe something on the over there. I still think if it comes down to a shootout between Ryan Tannehill and Tom Brady, the Patriots find a way to get it done. But I do like it inside the number.
Tannehill's look good.
Yeah,
Pretty good.
yeah, no,
Very good.
underrated story. But I'm gonna go with the Patriots, guys. I'm sorry. I think they've in the last 9 meetings at Gillette, average margin of victory of 18.2 points, and that goes back 9 years. We've seen similar Patriots teams where they just haven't been like Super Bowl caliber, and they've still been able to blow the Dolphins out of the water. And again, Miami, their opponents the last 3 games. This whole season, Titans, Jets. What did I say?
I was just saying, no pun intended.
Blow 'em out of the water.
I like that one.
I didn't hear what you said. That's really great. Anyway, Miami has played the Titans, Jets, and Raiders. And neither of these, they all stink. 4 of their 10 touchdowns are 50-plus yards. And those are big plays that I don't think against the Patriots after back-to-back losses. I think Belichick's going to clean it up. I'm going to put my faith in the Belichick again. I know I keep doing this every week. And also, don't forget, Jordy Nelson in the first quarter against the Dolphins last week, he had something like 140 yards or something, finished with 173 yards and 6 catches.
Minka Fitzpatrick looked lost in that opening quarter.
And I think we're going to see that.
He played better as the game went on.
He did.
Let's not forget, Josh Gordon is probably playing this week, right? Is he?
I would imagine.
Yeah. So that's another threat the Patriots have.
Mental reps.
And one more thing I want to add. Tom Brady, the last 3 games, he's gone up against 3 decent pass rushes. He's gone up against J.J. Watt and the Texans, the Jaguars. We all saw what they can do last year. And the Lions, second best sack rate in football this season so far. So he's not going to get that much pressure from the Dolphins. I think he's going to have more time to throw in at home. Angry Tom Brady. Angry Tom Brady.
Maybe.
You better give him a lot of Jimmy White this weekend after he made it abundantly clear that he wants more of him in the offense.
I'm gonna feel so dumb when the Dolphins come out and score like 13 points this week.
Maybe 3 points.
Because you just look at it and it's like, again, that Patriots pass rush hasn't been very good. The Dolphins done a very good job of keeping Ryan Tannehill clean. He's got a passer rating of 114.9 when clean. It's actually better when he's under pressure, but that's probably an aberration. I also thought this was interesting. This is Tannehill's first game against the Patriots since September 18, 2017. So I guess that's not that weird, yeah.
Isn't that last year?
Or maybe it might have been 2016. I'm sorry. Yeah, it was 2016.
It's 2 years. Yeah. I guess,
so it was a 31-24 loss. So I don't know. By the way, do you know who the number 1 team in net yards per play through the first 3 weeks is in the NFL?
Miami Dolphins.
No, they're number 4.
Net yards per play. Oh, the yards per play differential.
Yeah, exactly. Yards per play differential.
It's Tampa Bay, I think, right? Or
they're
Washington?
3. Washington, number 1. Wow. You're looking at a chart right now.
I track it on Excel every week.
Still couldn't give you the answer.
No, because I had an updated Tampa Bay's. I had an updated Tampa Bay's number from Monday Night Football yet.
You had to refresh it, do the Z to A. The combined against the spread record of those 5 teams in the top 5, 12-3 this season. That's from Joe Osborne at Odd Chart as well.
Yards per play different. I always quote it. You guys laugh at me.
No, I think we're getting into the point of the season where you can start using it.
Yeah,
I use it this week.
Week 4 is important.
All right.
Like I said, once we get to the
reps.
buys, from then on you got a little bit of a sample size, and you can start looking at that crap.
You can't use it as
a few weeks. It's like, what do you do?
Can't use it as a. I was gonna make some sort of crutch analogy, but it probably offends somebody, so I'm gonna stay away from that. Sunday night.
Use that word wisely here on the spread.
Smash Mouth football, AFC North. One of the handful of games.
Roethlisberger quoted last year. What did he say? When was it? It was probably after doing I think they were playing either the Bengals or the Browns, and it was an easy opponent. And I think he came out and he said, "It's AFC North football. You got to prepare."
That was I think it was the Bengals game. I'm looking it up real quick. With the Bengals game where it was like
everybody was like
Monday night game where it's just people were like appalled to be even watching. People felt guilty.
People were like, people were offended watching that game. It's too violent. It's like a gladiator games. It's AFC North football.
AFC North football.
Ben Roethlisberger on Monday's game. AFC North football.
Hell yeah.
All right, so speaking of AFC North football, we've got Sunday Night Football in prime time. The Ravens head to Heinz Field, the big ketchup bottle in Pittsburgh, to take on the Steelers. Steelers currently sit as 3-point favorites after holding on Monday night to put out the Fitzmagic in Tampa Bay. This is a tough one to get a read on. This is from R.J. Bell, noted betting expert, whatever you want to call him.
Very controversial.
Yes, exactly. That's why I hedged it last week as well. Last 26 games between these two teams, so that goes back, 13 years? I don't know if this counts playoffs. 13-13 straight up. The two teams are 12-12-2 against the spread. The Steelers have scored 536 points. The Ravens have scored 546 points. So this is as close as it gets.
Yeah.
So it's a virtual coin toss. That being said, Steelers 3-point favorites. Andre, where do you fall on this one?
Basically, I want to use that reason
Yeah.
and the fact that it's a divisional game, the Ravens are getting points, and we really don't know what these teams are yet because the Steelers have just been so up and down. The Ravens have played some crappy opponents. I don't know what either team is, but the more I look at it, I'm going to go with the Steelers -3. I struggled with this one a lot. I'm just going to go because of the fact that they have a good pass rush. They get good pressure on quarterbacks. I think Joe Flacco, he only has 2 interceptions this year. That's a low number. I think that's going to inflate. I think he's going to make some mistakes.
I've got another stat for you. Joe Flacco and the Ravens, 12 for 12 in the red zone. Scored a touchdown at every trip to the red zone.
Yeah, when I look at their opponents, and I'm like, you know what?
No.
Maybe it's your opponents. Here's another weird stat about the Ravens. They have 6 rushing touchdowns this year. It's near the top of the league. But they only average 3.1 rushing yards per carry, which is the second worst.
I guess.
It's just the red zone.
Yeah. Get it down there. Chuck it up. Get down there.
So I'm going to go with the fact that the Steelers get pressure on the quarterback. Ravens haven't been able to run the ball well. They're going to be punting a lot. And I think the Steelers make some big plays. They got Juju Smith. They got the better weapons, like Antonio Brown. I think they're going to be at home. I think they win in a 1-touchdown game, but not in a 1-field-goal game. They'll win by 6.
Sure.
24-18.
The Steelers are getting way too one-dimensional for me. I mean, they're at the
Roethlisberger
point
threw the
now
ball
where
38
they're
times.
throwing out all their running plays. And
Yeah.
I guess part of it could be the fact that you don't have Le'Veon Bell, but I also think that it stems too from you lose an all-pro guard and David DeCastro.
Yeah.
That's not ideal. So, I just look at that and I just think, the Ravens' pass defense is probably a little bit better than the Chiefs or the Bucs, where, Roethlisberger obviously had a lot of success against those 2 secondaries. So I think Baltimore has a better opportunity to hold up in that regard. And you mentioned Flacco hasn't really turned the ball over. If he can do that, and they can kind of grind away there, use their running backs and Alex Collins and Buck Allen. I don't know. The Bucs, for as much as they moved the football against Pittsburgh on Monday night, they don't really have a rushing attack. Same can't be said for Baltimore. So I agree with you. I agree with the sentiment of taking the points. If this is kind of a coin flip, like I think can all agree on, I'll take the points.
Baltimore's rushing attack is terrible, though.
It's not terrible.
It's the second worst in the league right now.
It's 3 games.
But they went up against the Bills in a game where they're up by so many points, and they're supposed to be running the ball, and they still stunk at running the ball in that game.
The Bills went into Minnesota to beat the Vikings.
I know, but my point is the Ravens were crushing the Bills in that game.
So who cares?
And they couldn't,
These players didn't give a damn.
I don't know.
I was gonna say
it's still. I don't know. Well, I struggle with that because it is such a small sample size still.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mentioned, I think the Ravens have a better secondary than Kansas City or Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
But that's mostly based on personnel, not the fact that you look at the number 1 in opponent yards per attempt. Whereas the Chiefs and Bucs are towards the bottom of the league. Then you start factoring in that the Ravens did get the beat up on the Bills in Week 1, so that's going to skew the numbers.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm just looking at personnel.
Yeah, it's tough to tell with these 2 teams. Mike, what do you have?
I'm going to take the Ravens as well for a lot of the reasons that we've already mentioned with the close games and such, things like that. Steelers 2-6-1 against the spread in their last 9 games when playing on a Sunday following a Monday night game. I think that kind of speaks to Mike Tomlin not being a great head coach, at least in terms of getting his team prepared and being ready to go. Maybe it kind of speaks to them getting up for Monday night games and then having a letdown the week after. Maybe that gets negated with this being a Sunday night rivalry game, but who knows? Pittsburgh running game issue, obviously, without Le'Veon Bell. Let me look it up real quick here. I don't have the number off the top of my head. They're averaging 3.9 yards per carry this season. That's 23rd in the league. That's not great when you have a lead. Even if you build an early lead, if you can't run the ball, obviously you can't milk away the clock. We kind of saw that Monday night. They allowed Tampa Bay to get back into it. And you might say, they're still figuring out with James Conner, 3.9 yards. That's to be expected without Le'Veon Bell. Well, that's actually better than it was last year. So this is not necessarily an isolated incident for the Steelers. Running ball has been an issue for them for the last couple of years. And on the Roethlisberger thing, I just looked this up. I wanted to get this out there. 41, 60, and 38. That's the number of attempts he had this season. So maybe you take the Ravens and hope that Roethlisberger's arm falls off.
Pitch count's getting up there.
Yeah, exactly. He's not a young man. Baltimore also sounds like they'll get C.J. Mosley and Michael Pierce back on defense. I think that helps as well. So.
Steelers, very undisciplined off the field. I think we can all agree on that. Also very undisciplined on the field. 115 penalty yards in the first half against the Bucs. That's the franchise's most and a half over the past 15 years.
Yeah, I'm sure that won't manifest itself at all in a very hated rivalry game.
Yeah, it's going to take one. Somebody will lose it in this game.
Yeah.
It might get a couple of ejections.
Let's say get a prop bet on an ejection
like
somewhere. So
I don't know. I disagree with you guys.
Steelers are pretty good in prime time.
Yeah.
So that's one for you. Put one in your category for whatever it's worth.
I don't believe in those prime time stats. Redskins don't ever win in prime time. They'll win this year.
All right, Monday Night Football
for
our third game. We're keeping it all in the AFC this week. This is another interesting divisional matchup. The Kansas City Chiefs, a team that everybody loves, with the quarterback whom everybody loves, Pat Mahomes, head on the road to take on the Denver Broncos. As I mentioned, it's a Monday night game. Chiefs currently road favorites, 4.5 points. 76% of the bets coming in on Kansas City as it stands right now. I gave you the note about home dogs earlier. Ricky, does that maybe sway you to take the Broncos here?
It does, and not only the fact that they are the home dogs and you put those numbers up.
9-4 against the spread this season.
Especially when it's Denver. There's something about going into Denver that just like, maybe I have, more of my antenna up a little more about that being in this region.
Exactly. You've seen the Patriots get their asses kicked there.
Where they've gone out there and lost on several occasions. So I'm going to take the points here. I just think this is the biggest defensive challenge yet for Patrick Mahomes and that Chiefs offense. I think if the Broncos can just kind of slow the pace, that's what, to this point, that really hasn't been the case. San Francisco did a pretty good job of that in the second half this past week and was able to cut into that deficit a little bit. So maybe if the Broncos come out, maybe control the pace on the ground with Philip Lindsay and Royce Freeman.
So Philip Lindsay's not throwing punches on the field.
Well, yeah, if it was AFC North football, he probably would
have been acceptable. He wouldn't have gotten ejected. So it's AFC North football.
Anything goes.
So
it's like hell in a cell.
This Broncos defense. This isn't the no-fly zone defense.
No, it's not.
Of years past.
Still pretty good numbers.
But still pretty good. And that pass rush could create some problems. I know that Patrick Mahomes. You want a play to show how legit he's been thus far.
I wound it like 3 times watching it last night.
He was just whining around in the backfield and then a
bullet to the back. And you know what? He also threw it, not to get off a tangent, he threw it between 2 defenders.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
it was
guys
legit.
going
He might
crisscrossing.
be the only quarterback in the NFL that makes that throw.
Right now, especially, with Rodgers banged up,
So, again, the Broncos can't afford to play from behind here or engage in a shootout, but if they can, control the time of possession, I think that this defense can hold up. And I will say, though, this does go against a lot of, like the prime time trends and whatnot, but the Chiefs in divisional games, scary picking against them.
They've won the last 5 meetings between these two teams.
The last 5 meetings between these two teams, 17-1 straight up in the last 18 divisional games.
They're good in the division.
For a division that, over the last few years has been pretty competitive.
Pretty competitive. A lot of good teams.
Insane.
I'm going to jump in, grab it before you do. I also had the Chiefs. Not a whole lot to add there, except for the fact that...
Wait, you taking the Chiefs?
Or, excuse me, I'm taking the Broncos. My bad. Despite all those numbers, Denver, like you said, to your point, Ricky, this is, again, I don't necessarily love stats or trends going back this far, but Denver 20-10 against the spread as a home underdog since '91. Again, not a whole lot about '91 can tell you much in 2018.
I'd love to see that 1993.
But I guess it just speaks to how hard a lot of the cliches, the air's thin, it's loud there, all that stuff. It's hard to go in there and win. It's good teams. They play well at home, whatever. Kansas City, I think this is more pressing, allowing the 3rd most yards per play this season. That defense pretty leaky, so maybe Denver finds a way to keep it close. Maybe if this was down closer to a field goal, I'd maybe lead towards the Chiefs, but just a few too many points for me to take.
I agree with you, Mike, and Ricky.
I did, sorry, yeah.
4.5 points. I like the Broncos as well. Look, Chiefs, they don't defend the run well. They allow the 2nd most rushing yards per play, and the Broncos, they're a running team. Philip Lindsay doesn't throw punches on the field, and he stays in the game. They maybe beat the Ravens Sunday. Sorry. I don't know what day we are.
It's crazy.
No, it's not that you don't know the day. You aren't even in the right.
It was Broncos Ravens.
Oh, I thought you were talking about this game. I thought you referred to this game as yesterday. I was like, Jesus
schedule.
Christ. Yeah.
No. I was looking at Broncos Ravens.
Okay, that makes
talking MLB playoffs.
You still had it wrong, yeah.
Anyway.
It's like the Kavanaugh calendar.
So NBA preseason?
What? No. Let me talk, guys. Let me talk.
Oh, it's not so nice, is it?
No, it's not. I'm sorry. Anyway, Broncos good rushing team. Chiefs aren't good against the run. And I like the, you talked about the Denver pass rush. You guys already talked about it. I also like the fact that Denver protects Case Keenum well. I think the Chiefs their pass rush came alive last week. They had 4 sacks last week.
Yeah.
The Chiefs did.
Yeah.
If Keenum gets protection, last year Keenum was getting protection. That's why he was doing well.
The Broncos have done a pretty good job at trying to build up that offensive line, which has been a huge issue for them last few years.
It has, exactly. And I think this year they've done a much better job, and they'll do good against this Chiefs pass rush. Keenum gets time. We saw what he can do last year when he gets time. And I don't know if they win, but again, you're right. 4.5 points is a lot. One interesting stat, though. Patrick Mahomes, we talked about how amazing he is. On deep pass attempts, when he gets it and just chucks it in the air, and 10 of 19 with 5 touchdowns, no picks. Unbelievable.
See, and that's
according
actually
to Pro Football Focus.
That's something that I noticed in watching the highlights and going back and watching the game, is that like maybe he'll get away with it this week too, but like a lot of those balls he just chucks it, and it's like I mean the one that he
clearly had a horseshoe up their ass to an extent.
Yeah, and so like the one that he threw into triple coverage, I think he threw it to Tyreek Hill.
He just went up and just brought it down.
3 guys.
Tyreek Hill like had a step on those guys. Like he was open for a second. It was a hell of a throw by Mahomes. But I just feel like those are, maybe if it's not a 50-50 ball, it's a 60-40 ball, and 40% is still pretty high. Like that eventually evens out. Maybe it starts to even out.
He can get up there too.
I mean, if
he has a
Dallas Cowboys receiving core,
Spud Webb throwing it down.
What's that?
If he has a Dallas Cowboys receiving core, I don't think he's putting numbers like
that's
that.
a good point. Yeah, they've done a really good job with him.
Probably getting back Pac-Man Jones and Tremaine Brock this week.
That's a good one.
So that helps the secondary.
It does.
All right.
Just play 4 deep, like.
So we all went Broncos, right?
The line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow, that's
taking the points.
That's wild.
Andre, what's your lock?
My lock of the week, I like the New Orleans Saints over the New York Giants. What's the spread at right now? It's only 3.5 points. Am I missing something here? I don't understand this.
It feels like it. They could. I think they should beat the hell out of
the Giants have the fourth worst yards per play differential in the NFL. As bad as the Saints' defense has been, they only allow 3 yards per rush attempt. And what are the Giants good at? They like to run the ball with Saquon Barkley. I don't think he's going to be able to do that against the Saints. Eli is going to be forced to throw the ball a ton. Giants don't have a pass rush. And Breeze, when he's not under pressure, 84 of 99 with 7 touchdowns and no picks when he's kept clean. That's according to Pro Football Focus. I think this is going to be an unbelievably huge blowout game, like 47-10.
Kind of like the exact score of the Buffalo game last season.
Was it that?
Did you look that up?
No, I didn't.
That's pretty impressive. I was just looking it up because I was like, I feel like there was a game where they went on the road as relatively big underdogs. Everyone expected them to win. They lost. So I was just looking at last year's schedule. They went to Buffalo in Week 10 and beat the Bills 47-10.
See a repeat.
I guess so.
Give me the Seahawks, 3-point favorites over the Cardinals on the road.
I like this one.
I still don't love Seattle. I think they got plenty of holes, but Cardinals have scored 20 points this season. No other team scored less than 40.
I've started to do my charts, my graphs and everything that I do every year. I had to triple check that, putting it in. Like it's 20 points.
20 points. And 14 of them coming in the first quarter against the Bears. Didn't score for the last 3 quarters.
Yeah, Rams, Bears,
and it sounds like Josh Rosen's going to start.
And the Chargers,
this week,
right?
But,
Redskins. That's a tough schedule. Redskins, Rams, Bears to start the season.
That's not ideal. But still, I don't know. I don't have any faith in that offense whatsoever. Seahawks also laid 2-1 straight up, 7-3-1 against the spread in the last 11 divisional road games, whatever that's worth. So yeah, I think they win this one by at least a field goal.
Cool. I'll take the Cowboys 3-point favorites over the Lions. I liked this a lot more before I saw a tweet. I think it was from CBS that basically said Dak Prescott and Brock Osweiler have the same exact numbers of their last 13 games. It was scary how close those numbers were.
Cooper Rush time in Dallas. Let me tell you.
Oh my goodness.
Did you see his preseason stats?
Yeah. Who cares?
He's going to be the starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys halfway point of the season.
It's not the worst idea. Dak Prescott's been a joke. I think a lot of that, though, is because they haven't been able to get the run game going. I think that changes this week against Detroit. For as good as Detroit maybe looked against the Patriots, they still have issues with stopping the run. They're allowing 150 yards on the ground per game. They gave up 89 yards on the ground to the Patriots, which was by far their best effort. I think in the 2 games before that, they've given up something like 179 yards per game. They're still sloppy with the football, 7 giveaways through 3 games as well. So I don't feel great about it, but maybe this is one of those letdown games where the Lions, put it all out there last week to beat the Patriots and kind of come back to earth this week. Weird to see this game That's like 2 Thanksgiving.
Much like
teams
Jacksonville.
playing. Sunday and September. Yeah,
Wet
exactly.
down.
So, all right.
Richard,
Upset, Ricky.
Upset. I'm going to take the Bengals, 5.5-point underdogs over the Falcons. The Falcons, 0-6 against the spread in their last 6 games against AFC opponents.
Interesting.
Sounds like the Bengals might get Joe Mixon back this week. And another blow to that Falcons defense. We've mentioned the Keanu O'Neal and Deion Jones going down. Now Ricardo Allen's out for the season. So one by one, they're just losing warm bodies. So they're at some point not going to know who's out there. AJ Green's status up in the air a little bit. I don't know if he's going to play and what the deal is there, groin injury. But Tyler Boyd stepping up, helping out that offense.
Not an offense you want to face if you got banged up linebackers and secondary.
Yeah, so I think the Bengals could win this outright. Really do.
I am going to take the Cleveland Browns over the Oakland Raiders. Browns, they were 3-point underdogs. When I checked this on Monday, now they're 2.5-point underdogs. Raiders, we talked about their second half issues. They've been outscored in the second half 64-17. After they took a 17-7 lead against the Dolphins, they were outscored 21-3. They've allowed the most yards per play in the NFL. You have the worst turnover differential in the NFL. Cleveland has the best turnover differential in the NFL. That's wild. 8th best sack rate. Cleveland could be a 3-0 team if they didn't have kicking issues. So I'm going to take the Browns. I think the Browns are a good team.
That turnover differential is due mostly to that week 1. What did they have, like 6 turnovers or something?
On Roethlisberger.
Yeah,
that was
still, they did it.
Yeah.
Roethlisberger's not.
That's true.
It happened.
Roethlisberger's not a bad
I'm not taking
quarterback.
anything away from it.
He's a Hall of Famer, 2-time Super Bowl champion.
Mike survived this long in the AFC North too. God bless him.
By the time this gets up, or by the time most people listen to this game will probably be over. But I'm going to take Minnesota to go into Los Angeles and upset the Rams. I imagine, I would like to think, as someone who's siding with the Vikings here, we're going to get a pissed-off Vikings team after they got embarrassed by the Bills at home. Maybe a nice little wake-up call for Mike Zimmer's team. L.A. probably be without Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib. Yeah. It can be a big game for Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs. It sounds like there's a chance Cook might play as well. The Rams also kind of have some issues covering tight ends at times this season, especially go back to week 1 against Jared Cook. He had 180 yards and 9 catches. Maybe a big game for Kyle Rudolph here. I think they score some points, keep with them. I am going against this very weird trend I also saw in CBS. Teams that have to travel 2 time zones,
yeah, I saw this.
2 time zones west.
That's pretty insane.
On Thursday Night Football are 0-10 straight up and against the spread since 2006. Let me say that again. If you have a team that has to go 2 time zones west, okay, you with me? Are 0-10 straight up and 0-10 against the spread since 2006. I think the Vikings break both of those trends.
Wow. Interesting.
So,
Streaks
We got a big conference right now in a minute, so should wrap it up.
Yeah, okay, let's get out of here.
You don't want to do show and tell?
So you can go get to the very important matters that...
yeah, screw us, right?
No,
Yeah.
I wish I had some points about that.
Thanks for at least
So you
taking
can
it.
read about those points on the NESN.com Week 4 NFL Picks.
Yeah, that's a good point. If you're still with us, this is long into the podcast, go check out NESN.com/odds, NESN.com/sports-betting, or NESN.com/NFL by Thursday, and those picks will be all up there for every single game that we have. We'll be back again next week. Thanks for joining us on The Spread. See you later.